Hi, this is Mrs. Sykes, and today we're going to start having a look at polydactyly, which is another genetic disease. Polydactyly is pretty cool, to be honest. Poly means many, so many or lots. Dactyly, we talk about things being dactyle. It's to do with your fingers and toes. Fingers or toes. Polydactyly is a genetic disease that causes people to be born with more fingers and toes than normal. So they could be born with 6 or 7 fingers or toes on each hand or each foot. Having extra fingers or toes, or even both, is genetically determined, and polydactyly is the name of the disease that causes it to happen. It is a dominant disease. And because polydactyly is a dominant disease, it means that it's quite likely to be inherited. So there are 2 alleles. We have a big P and we have a little p. Now the little p in this case is the normal number of fingers and toes, so 5 on each hand. But if we have a big P, then this is going to be polydactyly. So you would have more than the normal number of fingers or toes. The genotypes that are possible are big P, big P, big P, little p, and little p, little p. Now you will notice here that I've drawn these with pluses on them, and here I haven't. I've done that very deliberately. I've said before, and I will say in the rest of my lessons as we go through this topic, that you don't have to draw crosses on letters where it is obvious which is a capital and which is a lowercase. I am deliberately not going to draw pluses just to demonstrate that to you. I would suggest in an exam situation that you do little pluses to show which is the capital if you've got a letter that it isn't quite so obvious. Things like M's and P's and C's. So if you've got 2 copies of the polydactyly gene, then you are going to end up having polydactyly. So when that individual is born, they are going to have more fingers and toes than we would expect them to have. Because this is a dominant disease, even with just 1 copy, your individual is still going to have polydactyly. If you have 2 copies of the normal gene, then you would have the normal number of fingers and toes. So I'm going to do a couple of Punnett squares to talk us through this. So, big P, big P. Remember, I'm not bothering to do my pluses. You can still see relatively clearly that these ones are capitals and these are lowercase. If you're rushing, it will be less obvious, however. So, in this case, we've got big P, which I've got here, and I've already said is polydactyly. In the exam, you must link the genotype, which is the letter combination, to the phenotype, which is it written in words, to the percentage. So we're looking here at these 4 boxes as possible outcomes. So each outcome is 1/4 or 25%. So I'm going to do this in fractions this time. So big P, then that is going to be the chance of 1/4. Big P, little p, we've got 2 of those out of 4, so that is going to be 2 out of 4, or you know what, I'm going to simplify it and go to half. Little p is 1/4. That means, though, that actually, phenotype-wise, 3/4 of that population born from these parents would have polydactyly. Whereas only 1/4 would be without. We have a look at another Punnett square for the same disease, and again, I've deliberately not done the pluses. This time we have a homozygous recessive, so little p, little p. Homozygous, homo meaning the same, recessive meaning small letters. And we have a heterozygous, so 1 of each, big P, little p. And then I'll fill in this square again. Now, again, it isn't drastically unclear as to which ones are capital letters and which ones are not. But I think by adding in those pluses, it does make it clearer. That's the first little bit done. Now I'm going to write it out in full. If all you do is this part, the examiner isn't sure that you understand what those letter combinations mean. So you must write everything out. So I've now got big P, little p, and that's going to be polydactyly. And it is 2 of my 4 combinations. So I'm going to do this as percentages, so I'm going to go for 50%. And I've got little p as my next genotype, my next combination of letters. And that would be somebody who would be normal. I'll have the normal expected number of fingers and toes. That's 2 of the 4, so that would be 50%. So there would be a 50% chance in this situation that a child born to this couple would have extra fingers and toes, and a 50% chance that they would be phenotypically normal, and they would have the normal numbers of fingers and toes. So polydactyly is dominant. Because it is dominant, it is likely that you will inherit this from your parents.